Yo. Good morning. How you guys doing today? How you guys doing? Shout out to everybody that's coming in the chat today. This is your morning show, the best morning show, the Coffee and Sports Empire in the morning. Here today, man. Y'all already know, man. I got my guy to my right, my boy Jay Jones, man. How you doing this morning, Jay, man? What's good?
Hey man, feeling great, feeling good, feeling good. How are you? You know how I do. I'm
Hey man,
good.
I'm doing well. I'm doing all well. So y'all know Jay will be with us for the first segment today. Then Brett will hop on for the second segment. My guy Jonathan, Jay, you will be on with us all day, with me and Mo all day today, man. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm looking forward to it. I'm doing good. How you guys?
It's good. I'm
Doing well.
And we got the man, my co-host, man, the right-hand man of the morning show with me. Honored to have him. My guy Mo, man. How you doing this morning, Mo?
What's good, fellas? On a Taco Tuesday, let's get it.
You ain't lying.
Taco
So,
Tuesday.
yeah, we got some good topics. My guy Mo, hey, he got the boxing segment. At the end of the show, Roy Jones Jr. He gonna tell you about the great Roy Jones Jr. man. But let's get right into it. Man. We got the end of summer league. It just went down yesterday. Yep, it didn't look good for the Houston Rockets yesterday, but I'm very proud the way my team definitely played. Wasn't proud. Wasn't Of course you ain't proud of the way they lost, but other than that, it's a first experience of winning the goddamn ball game, winning goddamn games. So good job by Ime Udoka them, but we'll get to that later. In the segment. But I just want to congratulate the Cleveland Cavaliers early on for winning the Summer League title. Amani Bates and Isaiah Mobley really did a number, in this Summer League. So y'all, let's get right into the nitty-gritty. The first topic we got, we got the MLB. Jay, we got the trade deadline coming up. Man. Players that's most likely to you, in your opinion, to move on from their respective teams. Give me some players, or give me a player that you think that will most likely be moved on the trade deadline.
So I think Marcus Stroman, pitcher from the Chicago Cubs, will most likely. I think they'll move on from him. I don't think he's gonna. I don't. He has the option to sign an extension, but I don't think he's gonna sign the extension. So I think it's better for the Cubs to go ahead and just trade him and get value for him. I believe he's 10-6 right now with an ERA of 2.88. So you definitely can get some value for him. My Braves can use a pitcher, so get something. Continue building over there. Maybe Cody Bellinger. I think he might leave too. I don't know. I think Chicago might kind of semi blow it up a little bit. Same with the White Sox. I think they got some pieces that they might be willing to sell. Tim Anderson might be one of those guys. I think that might move as well. I think they get 14 mil off the books if they move him. I believe I might be wrong, but it's going to be a lot of movement going on. I have a whole list of other players and teams that might be making moves this by the trade deadline. Keep an eye out for the Pirates. as well. They just had a really good draft. They got some good prospects, and they might be moving some players as well. So the Mets, of course, Tommy Pham could be on the move, as well as one of their closers, David Robertson. He could be on the move because the Mets already said they're probably going to blow it up. They don't think they're going to move Pete Alonso, but those are some of the names that kind of stand out to me that I think could possibly be on the move by the trade deadline. And, of course, Ohtani.
Feel bad for that man. That man carrying the Angels, man. That man did it again last night. So
did you see the bat flip?
Crazy, man. That was crazy. That man, you can't. He blew out his back. He blew out his back late last night. We got to see the issue up on that one. He tried to swing, tried to end the game last night in the ninth inning, but the Angels did end up winning the game in the 10th inning. But Jonathan, man, give me some guys that will be on the move in this trade deadline.
I'm always glad to be part of a show with another Braves fan. That makes me very happy.
Yes, sir.
I got the 2021 World Series ring sitting on underneath my TV. So, I mean, I'm very happy to have another Braves fan join.
Man.
There you go.
Gotcha.
I agree. I agree that the Cubs, I don't know how much the Cubs are going to blow up. I think because they made a few moves this offseason to try to bring players in. I know Stroman's probably going to be either traded. They've already made no intention of saying they're going to re-sign him. I'd go a little further as far as saying the Cardinals. Cardinals have absolutely underwhelmed and very much been one of the most disappointing teams in the 2023 season. They've already come out and said they're going to be sellers. I think pitchers Jack Flaherty, Montgomery, Jordan Hicks are all all targets of teams to acquire and interject themselves into trade talks. I don't think Nolan Arenado from the Cardinals is going to be available. They want to keep their MVP pieces in Goldschmidt and Arenado, but pitchers that you have in Flaherty and Montgomery who have kind of underperformed this season as well. The values kind of dropped down. I think that's where they're going to panic and make a move just to try to make sure they can get something in return for those. But Flaherty, Montgomery, Hicks, you go to the Cardinals. I don't see the Mets. I know the general manager in the front office of the Mets have said that they're going to look to make moves. It's not going to be big moves that they're going to make just because Steve Cohen, the owner, doesn't understand the business side of baseball. He understands business. I mean, he's one of the richest owners in baseball. He's a businessman, so I'm not going to say he doesn't know business. But I don't know if he understands the business side of baseball where, look, you're 18 games out of first place. This is not working. Sell. But he's not going to do that. He's not going to trade Alonso. Okay. He gave it a 40-year-old $40 million in Justin Verlander. He's got Scherzer with $40 million. Nobody's going to pay that much money for two 40-year-old pitchers and as well as prospects to acquire those guys. So I see the Mets making moves, but not selling off like they should. If I wanted to throw a name, I know you said the White Sox too, Jay. White Sox looking at Dylan Cease and Lucas Giolito, guys that they would probably trade off more. Anderson potentially, just because he's but the problem with Anderson is his value has dropped. He hasn't hit a home run in over a year. He's been kind of fallen off as the top, from the list of top shortstops in the game to where he's kind of above average right now. So I don't know where his value is. I'd go a step further, and I know there's been talks that he's probably not available. I could see Juan Soto over the Padres being available. Juan Soto, just because, again, he's going to free agent at the end of the year. He's not performed to what the contract he wants. He wants $300+ million, and he's even been vocal that says he deserves a $400 million contract, but he hasn't performed to be able to even get that value. So I think the Padres look at it and say, yeah, we're probably going to go in a different direction. We'll get something for you. So I could see Juan Soto being a player that could be on the move if the right team makes the offer for the Padres to acquire.
Can I ask Jonathan two questions? Go
ahead. Yo.
One, do you think the Mets? Do you think Max Scherzer? Do you think he waives the no clause trade? His no clause trade and tries to get traded out. And do you think Blake Snell and what's my guy's name, Josh Hader? Do you think they get traded? Or on
Scherzer, to answer the first, Scherzer, he will, if the opportunity comes, he will waive his no trade clause. I think he wants to play for a contender. And again, you're 18 games out of first place. I got to see where they're at in the wild card, but they're not even close in the wild card. I don't think really right now.
No.
That's all. So I could see him waiving it, but the problem is, again, you're a 40-year-old pitcher. making $40 million. If I'm a general manager, and I actually said this to last night to a couple guys that I was talking to about this. If I'm a general manager of a team, let's say if I'm let's just for all purposes, so I'm the Cincinnati Reds, who's in first place in their division right now. I look at it and say, look, yeah, he could help us, but he's 40 years old making $40 million. I'm gonna call him and say, Mets, you're gonna pay $35 million of that deal. We'll cover the 5. You'll cover the third. So which at this point prorated, half the season's already done, so it's prorated. So essentially, I'm only gonna pay $2 million. You pay the rest of that deal, and I'm gonna throw you 2 mid-level prospects. He's not worth top prospects anymore. 5 years ago, absolutely, he would be worth what the Dodgers had to trade to the Nationals, which was 2 top prospects, a top 15 prospect on top of that with another prospect. It was 4 prospects they acquired. At this point of his career, I say I would give you a top 15 and a top 25 prospect. You pay 90% of the prorated contract. We'll pay $2 million, and we'll go from there. The Mets will hang up on me. They'll hang up on me on that. They're not going to say anything. They're not going to say, no, we don't want that. That makes no sense for us. You're right. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for me to have to take a 40-year-old pitcher who has shown he can't pitch in October after a full season because his arm falls off. So he would want to be out of New York. I just don't see a team absolutely giving the Mets what they want. That is fair value for them. At the same time, fair value for the team acquiring it. Blake Snell, and you said Josh Hader, I don't see them being traded. Padres don't necessarily want to sell off right now. They're still kind of in the hunt of the NL West. So I could see them, like I said, Soto could be the only one I see being moved from San Diego just because, again, his value is not high right now. He's not played to the contract that he wants to get. Now, that could be a beneficial for San Diego or say, hey, you may want 300. We're going to pay you 180. And you're going to take that. Otherwise, go to the free agent market and see what you get. You're probably not going to get 300. You'll do what probably Carlos Correa did, who signed for $330 million with the Mets, flagged for his physical, signed for $240 or $260 million. There's like a $70-80 million drop off from what he originally wanted in his deal that he got with the Mets to what he got with the Twins. I think that's something that's very similar. Based off of just performance-wise that Soto has done in San Diego. He hasn't performed to the level of what he did in D.C. So the value of Soto has dropped based off of what he thinks he is to what teams are going to see him as. And if the Padres are smart, I think they should look at it and say, we'll trade Soto. Hader and Snell, no, I think you got to build because, again, you're still in the hunt now, and the division's going to be wide open next year too, where you still have on paper a very talented roster that you can compete for 2024, 2025 with the roster that you have. So I don't see Padres selling off Snell and Hader just yet.
Okay.
Yeah, and by the way, you talk about Carlos Correa. That's the comma Carlos Correa. That's that comma, sir. Thank you so much. You're having, yo. And George Springer, I'm watching you too, George Springer. But other than that, y'all already know why I say that. Y'all already know how people acted towards that Astros. When we let them guys lead, I didn't think we still was gonna be good. But other than that, I had a question. One more question for Jonathan before we move on. How long has it been since Tim Anderson hasn't hit a home run?
It's been a year. It's been a full year, actually, a full calendar year. This week, is Wednesday now? So over the weekend, actually, since the weekend, I think it was Monday. Actually, he hasn't had it was Saturday. Saturday was the 1 year timeline it's been since Tim Anderson has hit a home run.
Dang. Give me a player that you know. Give me a couple players if you have any.
A player, but the team that I've been paying attention to, and I think they've been discussing it throughout this segment, is the Mets. I'm watching the Mets. When you've got an owner like Cohen, to me, he just throws more money after bad money. I don't think he wants to break it up. I don't think he's going to. Even though everything screams you need to break this up and start fresh, I don't think he's going to do that. He knows you're not going to get anything for those two pitchers well past their primes. I'm looking at the Mets because I think they're the team that should be making moves. I just don't think Cohen, whoever his advisors are, even if he listens to his advisors, I don't think he's going to make it happen. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I mean, so this is the question I want to go for Jonathan and everybody. But like what has happened? Like Mets spent all this money in free agency. It was going to be Carlos Correa into his physical. He kind of lost a lot of money on that one, but they all be glad they didn't give him that money the way he's performing this year. The way he performed this year, they all be glad. That's a waste of money. But what went on with the Mets? What is the downfall of the Mets right now? What is the downfall? What you guys think is going on with the Mets, and what needs to be changed going into next year?
It's the same. So you have a team. The roster has been the same. Yes, you added Lindor last year. You added Francisco Lindor last year, but you have the same constructed roster that has competed for the NL East division title previous 2 years and have collapsed. So you haven't done anything to really change the roster other than for adding Francisco Lindor. Lindor is an all-star player, one of the best shortstops in the game. Not anything away from him. But what has Lindor won in baseball? He hasn't won anything other than just being an all-star. So you added a all-star player to a team that is a underachieving franchise. That's an underachieving team. You haven't added actual pieces that is to benefit the roster and grow the roster to be a contender for this team. Look at the Braves. Being a Braves fan, Braves have a roster that is constructed almost perfectly. I'm going to say almost because there's no such thing as a perfect roster in baseball. But you have speed, you have power, you have contact, you have the lineup 1 through 9 is so difficult to pitch to. But if you look at the Mets, because the Braves have Acuna can drive in runs. Ozzy Albies drives in runs at batting 2. Olsen bats or Riley drives and runs bats 3. Olsen drives and runs bats 4. Sean Murphy drives and runs bats 5. You have Orlando Arcia, he can drive in runs as well. Travis d'Arnaud, when he's in the lineup, he drives in runs. You have 1 through 7, 1 through 8 can drive in runs. You don't have that in the Mets offense. And over the last 2 years prior to this season, the biggest issue for their lineup was not producing runs. The only run producer they've had on a consistent basis is Pete Alonso. And there's moments in last year where after the home run derby last year, and that's when I get a lot of talk about the home run derby, it tires him out and whatnot. But in the second half, he falls off. He does really good. He gets really hot in the first half and then falls off and stops driving in runs in the second half. And when he doesn't drive in runs, there's nobody in that lineup that is able to pick up the slack. Lindor doesn't pick up the slack. And then you're paying a lot of money for him to be able to do average to maybe a little bit above average stuff in the lineup. Jeff McNeil's not driving in runs. Brandon Nimmo's not driving in runs. You have nobody that can really actually do something to produce for you offensively. So the roster construction has been a problem for the Mets for the last 3 seasons, and they have done nothing. The money they spent was to bring in Verlander. I mean, they didn't really who did they bring in other than Lindor in 2022? For 2023 right now, they didn't bring in anybody that can actually enhance and elevate the lineup to match with the Braves and score runs, or even match with the Phillies. Phillies lineup is a whole lot better than the Mets still too. So they haven't done anything in the right direction to benefit this lineup, be able to score runs and produce runs to compete for a division title. And that's why we're seeing they're in purgatory. I call it their baseball purgatory. They're stuck. They don't know what they're going to do because they can't grow, they can't get better, and they can't sell off either.
All right. Got you. So, again, yesterday, we already know the franchise tag deadline has passed. I'm going to start at the bottom. Saquon Barkley is not expected to show up to training camp. Josh Jacobs is not expected to sign a deal. Give me your thoughts, Mo, on the franchise tag deadline has passed, and give me your thoughts on Josh Jacobs and Saquon and the people that didn't get that franchise tag.
Look, they're just in the wrong league at the wrong time. They're both terrific players. Saquon Barkley can affect the game, not just on the ground, but through the air as a receiver. But the reality is the position just doesn't hold the value. The running back position, unlike any position in the NFL, most of these guys are on the other side of their prime at age 27, 28, that's crazy when you think about that. And so to throw $16, $17 million at them, franchises aren't going to do that anymore. That's over with. To me, when he got offered the $13 million, he should have took that. Saquon should have took the $13 million. Look, he has an agent. Get your agent, take the $13 million, and maybe put performance incentives in your contract. Maybe if you hit the 1,500-yard mark, you catch 60-plus passes, 12 or more touchdowns. You could have found a way to put more money into the contract to bolster up what you actually made within a season. He's not going to get more than $13 million. And Josh Jacobs, he's not going to get that. The Raiders don't value Josh Jacobs. And that's sad because he really is their offense, but they don't value him. You look at the way that team is built. That team is built for a fire sale. We were just talking about a fire sale. The Raiders are built for a fire sale. You think Davante Adams is cheering that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be throwing him the ball? You think he wants to catch all those little 5 and 8 yard slants? Davante Adams, if he has a 1,200-yard season this year, he's going to average about 10 or 11 yards a catch because of the quarterback that he has. He's going to catch a lot of medicine balls. He's going to feel the pain throughout the season. I just think that the running back position, we all know, has been devalued. And the holdout thing, it doesn't benefit them. They're going to eventually come in, but it doesn't benefit them. Think about how well that worked out for Le'Veon Bell. It didn't. The reality is, you look at what Zeke did when Zeke got his money. As soon as Zeke got his money, rock bottom, hit the wall, and they were stuck with him. They only kept him on the roster because of the money, because Pollard became their better back 2 years ago. I like Saquon. I acknowledge he's the Giants' best player, but it's a quarterback-driven league. And if the quarterback's value go up, so do the value of wide receivers. So do the value of cornerbacks, left tackles, defensive ends. Everybody but the running back, because the running back is the most replaceable position in football.
Got you. Jonathan?
Yeah, I agree. This is a wrong era, the wrong time, and even more so, it's not even just talking about the game itself as far as how the game is being played, but the decision-making side of things. And that's why I said to you guys yesterday, where's the players' union of the NFL and how this is being constructed and being handled? Because you have coaches that you had Sean McVay after the Todd Gurley deal. Sean McVay said, we will never pay a running back big money ever again. We will draft a running back, play him for 4 years, and send him on his way. Draft a running back, play him for 4 years, send him on. At some point, you have to look at it and say, that's not good business dealings. If you're the union, again, I'm being part of it. Being associated in some capacity as a minor league baseball player, we had conversations about our union at the time and just how much they did everything they could to take care of us. Where's the players? Where's Damari Smith to sit there and say, hey, you know what? This is wrong. These are still players that at the highest point of their career. Talking about Saquon, one of the top running backs in the league. Josh Jacobs, one of the top running backs in the league, and you're treating them like they were what? Nobodies? Why? Why are we? I understand how. Again, we're all realistic on what the value of running backs is and the position it plays now. But if we're looking at it and saying that the running back position is changed because we're wanting more pass catchers, doesn't that actually, if you look at it, extend their career because they're treated as wide receivers more so now? The days of like the Derrick Henry running back he's the exception to the rule of running backs now. Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey are more the scat back running backs that are pass catchers. Are they not more like wide receivers in today's game than actual running backs? So why is that not being used to say we're going to extend their career another 2-3 years because they're actually pass catchers now? We're utilizing them as pass catchers instead of saying run through the tackles, get hit by a 240-pound linebacker like a car crash, and then we'll go and replace you from there. I have a feeling that it's not going to talk about it enough, and there's no protection of the running backs by the players' union to really have their back and say this has got to get fixed, this has got to get better. But the value of them has dropped, and teams they're vocal about it. They're acknowledging we don't want to pay top dollar for a running back. Derrick Henry's the exception. Alvin Kamara got his big deal in exception, but you see after you get your deal, you start declining almost immediately. We saw that with Zeke, Todd Gurley. Kamara's kind of going downhill right now at his point. I'm being a Saints fan. I hope that's not the case. I hope he gets it, but he is declining already after getting this deal. So it's almost inevitable that happens. It does not incentivize teams to want to sign running backs to a long-term deal. The beneficial thing for the team is franchise tag. Yeah, hey, you get a pay increase for your time. franchise tag you again if we have to. Why would that? We're going to draft a replacement, and then at that, you're a free agent, and you're not going to get your big contract or that. So it's very shady how the business side is really playing against the running backs, but this is what the CBA has detailed out, and there's not a lot anybody can do about it.
I agree with Jonathan as far as the NFL, the players union. The running back position has always kind of been devalued, as we all kind of like spoke about. Even when you look back, we've always said like after you turn like in your late 20s, how or 28, 29, 30, like as a running back, you're basically done. You're basically washed. For most other positions, you could still play. You know, you can still have value even in your later years, depending on your position. This is it's truly sad, man. I really hate to see it. You know, Saquon Barkley, what he did last year, took the Giants to the playoffs. Was a big part of the Giants going to the playoffs and winning their playoff game. And to see him being treated like this, Josh Jacobs, the Raiders, who have no quarterback, he is the offense. They did him dirty, had him playing in I think the Hall of Fame game, I think last year. It's truly a travesty, man. And every team doesn't have an elite quarterback, right? We saw everybody goes back to say, hey, well, look what the Chiefs did. Look what the Eagles did. Yeah, well, the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes and the Eagles have Jalen Hurts, and they have weapons, right? Everybody doesn't have that. So, yes, you built your team based off Saquon Barkley. You built your team off Derrick Henry, Jonathan Taylor, and these guys like that. So, yes, when these guys produce, they should get what their value worth. They should get compensated for that. I understand the business side of it. We've seen Zeke, we seen Todd Gurley. We've seen those guys decline after they got big deals, but that's just, it's not every running back that happens to. So I mean, I understand both sides to a degree, but I still feel like the running backs, they definitely deserve it. And going back to what Jonathan said, like, yeah, their years can be extended as receivers, but the problem was the owners didn't want to pay the running backs as receivers. That's why Le'Veon Bell left, because he was saying, hey, I'm catching passes, I'm catching 60, 70 passes, and I'm rushing the ball, all these rushing attempts. Y'all only want to pay me like a running back. So it's like they don't want to pay them at all. They want to leave them on rookie deals and just get rid of them. So it's tough being a running back. I've told my kid, hey, don't be a running back. Like I'm telling my kids, family members, do not be a running back. Be either a right tackle, a quarterback, or cornerback, because that's all you're going to get paid for. But running back, it's sad, man. They got to get a union or some sort going on for these running backs, man. Because I mean, even Dalvin Cook, man, this guy had 4,000-yard seasons back to back, and he's unemployed. Dallas can use a running back right now. I know they have Tony Pollard, but I mean, come on. And he has no market. He only has one team. Like, this is crazy to me. And I get it. The NFL has changed now. The quarterbacks are mobile, because before we didn't even have mobile quarterbacks like that. So obviously we see the game is changing. It's no longer the stand in the pocket quarterback. It's now mobile. And so now they're trying to utilize the quarterback. It's sad, man. It's sad. Let me
just add one thing real quick. Shout out to Gene, because Gene actually brought this up on the show last night. The union, because it is about business, right? The union can strike a better deal to get them their money in their rookie contract. If you think you've got a franchise running back, if you drafted a guy you think is a franchise running back, the union can negotiate better deals to where they can get paid more in their rookie deal. You know what I'm saying? That way, there isn't the issue on the other side when that second contract comes up. That's something the union could negotiate if they actually put their foot down and fought for these guys. Like you said, Jay, the running back position right now, the union is failing them as well.
Yeah, true.
Well, the problem is, as you just said, the owners have the players by the balls right now with their union. I mean, the union is weak. It's been weak. So I mean, the owners have been controlling the players for a very long time, and the only way you get power back, and it's not going to be a good thing. It's not going to be a good thing because I think y'all know where I'm going to go with this. You're going to have to strike. And with the popularity being how high it is, with go back to 94 with baseball. Popularity in baseball was really high at the time. Again, the players needed more power, and rightfully so. Players need to have equal to a little bit more power because they're the ones making the money for the owners. They're the ones who are putting out the product. So I'm very pro player based off, again, being a player myself. But the popularity of baseball was high as it can be. They had to do what they had to do for the business side of what was so important for them. Again, there was some issues. The 94 strike in baseball, very cloudy, probably things that probably shouldn't have been done, but they did it anyway. And the popularity tanked in baseball for a very, very long time. And it's still not as popular as what it was back in the day as well. How terrified are you as a fan to see that if a player strike? Because remember, it was a lockout. It was an owner lockout that happened 2012, I believe it was. The owners had the power to say, we're going to lock you out. The players need to be the ones, if they really want power back and really put fear in the owners, they're going to have to strike. Yeah. But at the same time is, how are fans going to react to that? And it's never a good thing. But that is the nuclear option for players. If you want power back, you're going to have to walk out and strike.
Yeah,
and I think they won't. And
we see how that went.
That's what I'm saying. I don't see that being the case. I don't see them ever getting to that point, just because what we already saw what 94 did for baseball. The popularity being so high for the NFL that if you do that, how much is that going to take? Because the NBA is kind of nipping on their heels in popularity. They're catching up to the NFL. They will never. I don't think at the moment they'll surpass. I don't think that will happen. But if you have a strike, that will push the NBA to get their popularity even higher. You might let baseball catch up a little bit more in popularity, and your NFL fandom, the popularity is going to just absolutely tank. So that's a nuclear option. But if you want power back and you want to have some things that back in your favor, that is something you're going to have to consider. But I don't think it's going to happen. And I'm going to a point as well. If we remember Deebo Samuel, wide receiver for the Niners. But how they were using him? They were using him more as a running back at one point because they had no running back.
They had no running back. Yeah.
After the season come out, he goes, hey, I don't mind.
Right.
But I'm a wide receiver. And do not try to label me as a running back because my contract's up and I'm going to get paid as a wide receiver just because I ran the ball. Just because I'm good at running the ball does not make me a running back. He was fighting tooth and nail to make sure he was not being labeled as a running back because of how good he is at that position, but how better he was still as a wide receiver.
Yeah, good point. Very good point. Do y'all see the running back position fading away like the fullback position?
I don't think it fades away. I just think that their pay scale is just going to be reduced. Look, you've got special talents at the running back position. Johnny can speak to it. He's a Saints fan. Alvin Kamara, I've watched so many Saints games. To me, when I'm watching him, I feel like I'm watching a wide receiver. He's that good out the backfield. And he doesn't just do wide receiver or running back routes. Kamara, he runs receiver routes. So those guys with that kind of talent, with that kind of versatility, the value won't go away, but they're never going to get paid. Let me say this. They won't get paid the way they should get paid.
I agree on that because if you look at the wide receivers in the league, you have guys who are, receiver 2 and receiver 3, they're making – you could look at it and say they're making receiver 1 type of money. Again, we remember DJ Chark got $80 million from the Jaguars, and we're sitting here like, Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk. It's even worse. Christian Kirk did absolutely nothing in Arizona, and he got $80 million for the Jaguars. So you're sitting there thinking, well, he's a receiver 3, and he's going to get receiver 2, receiver 1 type money, whereas you have the very top of the top running backs, like I said, Zeke, Henry, Kamara, Gurley for a point. They got their money. They got top money. They set the market. But that's 4 guys of the 32 teams that are in the league that you're going to sit there and say, yeah, they're getting theirs, but everybody else is going to be very much in a group together. So will you still have a team that wants to pay their running back top? Yeah, Saints were one, Cowboys were the other one, Rams were the other one. But then you look at everybody else and like, well, look, where do we value? Well, we have a quarterback that we're going to need to make sure we got to pay. Okay, we're going to do that. Well, then we can't pay the running back. We just can't. That's not going to happen. So I don't see this position ever like going away. because we know the running back position is very valuable on the field. It's very valuable on the field. And again, we saw Saquon Barkley is very valuable to the Giants on the field. But off the field and in the business room, they're never going to value him the same way. So that's what this whole issue is that you're putting us on a pedestal. Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs, for example, you're putting us on a pedestal saying just how great we are for the team, but then you're not going to write us a check that equals that. So that's just where it's going to continue to be until somebody just says enough.
Yeah.
And by the way, we do have Tony Pollard will be playing under a franchise tag as well, worth $10 million. And like you brought up, Jay, that they do still need a running back. The next running back I believe they got is Malik Davis, the rookie last year out of Florida. So you do have Tony Pollard will be playing on a franchise tag who had that messed up leg against the 49ers. So we switch our attention, like I say, to Josh Jacobs, who's not going to report to training camp. Those of y'all that don't know, Josh Jacobs still a young running back. He's 24 years of age. 3 out of the last 4 seasons, he has over 1,000 yards. The only year he didn't have 1,000 yards is 2021 season when he had 872. He had 1,600 yards last year. Just burst on the scene. Him and Devontae Adams was the main guys for the Las Vegas Raiders last year. And when Josh Jacobs ran the ball last year for the Raiders, they were winning the game. When he wasn't running the ball, they were losing the game. But also, Josh McDaniels tried his best, and he did what he did. Run Derek Carr up out of the building. That was frustrating for Devontae Adams. He did come out on social media after that and voiced his frustration. So, Jay, I'm gonna start with you. Will a deal get done at some point with Josh Jacobs in training camp? Do you think a deal will get done at some point?
Man, the way this is looking, man, I don't think so. I think maybe a deal will get done, but I think it's going to be based on what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they're going to see, I guess, because he failed his physical and he's waiting to see what's going on with him. And then I think maybe after that, they'll try to pick up and resume conversations and try to get a deal done because offensively, they have nothing. Devontae's probably going to be pissed, pending if Jimmy G is going to be available or not and what their quarterback options is going to be. So I think they, based on the default of the quarterback situation, will be if the Raiders can strike a deal with Josh Jacobs or not. If the quarterback situation, if Jimmy G's okay, he's ready to go, I don't really see a deal being struck for Josh, man. And it's sad because when you read reports, they said he was sitting in the car with Max Crosby, like literally waiting to get the phone call to go sign a deal, and nothing came. So I hate it for this young man, but depending on the quarterback situation, is going to determine if they can get a deal done.
Yep. So I want to throw something I want to throw a curveball at you, Jonathan and Mo. So if you were Josh Jacobs, if you two starting with you, John, if you were Josh Jacobs, would you play up under the franchise tag this year? Would you actually play up under the franchise tag if it was offered to you? You had 3 1,000-yard seasons. So you actually been great. You actually been solid. Throughout the years when you got the opportunity to run the ball. So if you were Josh Jacobs, would you play up on the franchise tag, or would you say, no, I want my money?
I would play because we saw the example precedent of Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell didn't sign, didn't play, and he was not the same player. Now, again, was there other variables? I guess you could say other variables. It was with the Jets, and the Jets were not a very good team at the time when he went there. But he wasn't the same player either, though. And you're putting yourself in a very bad position by sitting. And so it's a guarantee. I understand what players were wanting is the years more so than just the money itself. They want the guarantee of the years because a franchise tag is guaranteed money that you're making for this season with no guarantee of playing next year. You know, whether if you get hurt, you're going to be pretty much screwed at that point. So I understand it's the years that's won it, but at the same time, you play, you put up your numbers again. What can happen? Well, look, the Raiders they have your rights, so they can tag you again. This is again the unfortunate side of the rules that the players' union has negotiated with the owners to where they control you without even having to have you on a long-term deal. But that's the rules of what it is. And if you want to make sure that you can get to the point where you can get your contract, you have to play. Sitting out does not. You just lose a year, so you're going to get older. Yeah, you don't put the wear and tear on your body, but you're another year older when you're not doing anything that football related that actually entails to show you or show teams that you're ready to go play when they sign you and you're able to be signed, and the clock is ticking faster on you at that point. So I don't see the benefit. We saw that with Le'Veon. There was no benefit at all for him to sit out the year. He got paid, but he didn't perform. If that's the key, okay, then if that's just making sure you get your money and get your years, but you after that, it is what it is. Okay, but it's got to be more to that. It's got to be a lot more to that. And if you want to make sure that you're putting yourself in a position to succeed, you're going to have to play. So I would tell him, that go sign the tag, play this season, see what happens next year.
Mo?
I think you play and you show your value again. And I actually think that his fate is tied to Garoppolo and Devontae Adams' fate. If you've got Josh Jacobs doing what he does on the ground, that's Jimmy Garoppolo's best friend. Jimmy Garoppolo is actually a solid quarterback when he's got a run game. He's not going to push the ball down the field, but an effective Jimmy Garoppolo will get you on those deep cut routes, those slants, things that Devontae Adams is also very good at. So I think their fortunes are tied together. If you've got Josh Jacobs, you get a better Jimmy Garoppolo. You get a better Jimmy Garoppolo, you get a more productive Devontae Adams. And I know it's tough because at the end of the day, Josh Jacobs is kind of like in a purgatory. We keep using the word purgatory because if he doesn't play, they'll just put somebody else into the running back position. They might not be nearly as good as him, but that's how quick franchises will move off of you. And like we said, when Le'Veon Bell came back, he wasn't the same player. I think a lot of that has to do with, one, the Jets had no quarterback. They had a terrible offensive line. So he was set up for failure. He got his money, but he set himself up for failure. I think you have to play, prove your value, and try to renegotiate over the course of the season.
Yes, indeed. So some notable signings that if we haven't touched on, we had Daron Payne signing his deal with the Washington Commanders. We had Quentin Williams signing his deal with the New York Jets, and we had Evan Ingram signing his deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars. With the Jacksonville Jaguars, if nobody doesn't know, those are the deals that have been signed to stay put with their regular squads. Any thoughts that you guys want to give out to these three guys?
Well, Evan Ingram is a vital part of Jacksonville's rebuild, or their part of their offense. So re-signing him and seeing him thrive is definitely a good thing. And he definitely deserved it because he had a hell of a year last year. So personally, I hope he doesn't, I hope the Jags don't do good, but for their team, right. This was definitely a good move, and it's good to see that they rewarded him. Same with, I think all three players, they deserve, they put up big numbers. I'm in the DC, Maryland area. So, Daron Payne, he deserves his money. You know what I'm saying? And hopefully they can live up to the expectations and can continue to deliver on the field. But I'm happy for all three guys. They all deserved it.
And I think Evan Ingram, he had his best season since his rookie season with the Giants. Like with the Jags, he looked like that guy that people envision, a tight end that can get deep, get down the field, put more pressure on linebackers. So the fact that they signed him, that's just smart. Your quarterback's best friends, a run game, and an effective tight end. You got to have somebody in the middle to relieve that pressure. Evan Ingram did that for him last year. I think he's going to have another big season this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think the deals for all three of them were really good deals. And if you got to look for Quentin Williams, who has become a monster, is at D tackle. Yeah. He's been able to be in his career and how important he is for the Jets. That was a must. That was absolutely must. Again, and I think other than bringing in Aaron Rodgers, that was the deal that you had to have was Quentin Williams back and signed for you in long term. To help anchor that defense, because that's what Robert Saleh is. Robert Saleh is a defensive head coach, and he needed someone to be able to be that guy for you in the middle, and Quentin Williams is that. So I'd put that one as one of the most important signings, right up there with Evan Ingram. I think Daron Payne was a very good deal for the Commanders, but that he's a big piece for what's been one of the most dominant defensive lines, and they were really top defensive line of all football. But for over the overall aspect of an individual that needed it for their team, or the team that needed it for the individual, that was Quentin Williams, just because of how important that position is with Robert Saleh's defense and what he means to that team, and what he's become as a monster in the middle. That was very important.
I'm not used to hearing Jaguars and smart go together. That's new to me.
So we got the last segment for Jay for today before we bring on Brett. Summer League is a wraps. I watch pretty much every Summer League, pretty much every team. But for you guys' teams, let me know who impressed you guys on you guys' teams in the Summer League. And if anybody on the Summer League team that deserve to have a two-way contract on the squad or go somewhere else to have a two-way contract, let me know. So, Mo, I'm going to start with you. Your Lakers, you had Maxwell Lewis, Hood Schifino. Anybody else that you looked at that deserve a two-way contract or invite to summer camp? If they don't get that two-way contract, they can also get invited to another training camp on another team. So, give me your thoughts on the Lakers Summer League and Hood Schifino and Maxwell Lewis.
I really was focusing on Hood Schifino and Maxwell Lewis.
Okay, go ahead.
They had ups and downs, but you can see the talent on both sides of the floor, especially with Hood Schifino. The kid gets after it on the defensive end. He's sneaky athletic. I think he's definitely going to get the deal. Look, the Lakers roster is set. But if anybody's going to get that two-way deal, he's going to get it. I don't think anybody else on the roster will. I really don't. I saw some signs, but other than him, I don't think anybody else really stood out consistently throughout the course of the Summer League. Got you.
All right, Jonathan.
For the Pelicans, being a Pelicans fan, I looked at what did the kid Dyson Daniels, who was our first round pick in 2022, was he going to dominate? And that's what you kind of expect. A guy who's going to be in year two, go to the Summer League, you're going to have to dominate.
Yeah,
and he did. He did. He was one of the top players on the Pelicans team. He was top two. Averaged 14 points a game. He led the team in rebounds, led the team in assists. He was a second on steal. So statistically, he put himself as saying, yeah, hey, I'm the guy. I'm better than everybody. I'm going to go and make sure that everybody recognizes that. I was really intrigued to watch Jordan Hawkins, the first-round pick this year, who from UConn, sharpshooter, which is what the Pelicans need, a little bit more shooting, especially as if Zion is healthy and what he's going to be for this team. You need another shooter to go with Ingram and McCollum. I know Trey Murphy at times has been a good shooter, but you still need more. This is a league where 3-point shooting is at a very premium. So what you can do on the inside, what the Pelicans have shown in this past season, you need shooters. So Jordan Hawkins and his shooting ability, and he's actually been able to do a lot more than that. He was able to drive and be able to and attack the rim a little bit more than what I think we saw him do at UConn, because he was a shooter at UConn more so. The one name that surprised me that I was very intrigued to watch and see a little bit was EJ Liddell. Liddell averaged 12 points a game during the summer league. He made some good plays. He was very good on the defensive side for them, which is, I think that was more of his MO from Ohio State, was he was a good defender that can be able to play on the other side. So I'm intrigued to see what he does in training camp, and does he get an opportunity to kind of get himself onto the roster and even crack the roster to be able to play, because again, we need some defensive guys. We're looking at we have Herb Jones there, but again, what Willie Green does very well with this group, lets them play, got to make sure you play defense too with the scoring that we can do. But if you can play defense, EJ Liddell, you can play defense, you might have a spot on this team in the 2023-2024 season.
Got you. Good breakdown, Jay. All right, Jay, go ahead.
I'm an NBA fan, free agent right now. So I was kind of watching everybody. I used to be a Knicks fan, but I had to let them go a while ago, man. So, but I was trying to watch a little bit of everybody. Jordan Hawkins was one of them that I was trying to watch. He's from the DC area. Went to UConn. I was kind of trying to keep an eye on him. I like what I saw from him. Marcus Sasser. Of course, y'all know I've been Keontae George pretty heavy every time I come on and speak. It's a few other guys. Your guy Cam Whitmore, he was hooping.
Oh man.
It's a few other guys too. I just shot a blank. But it's good to see all these guys.
Come on, Rob.
See this young talent coming on and doing their thing. So I love the summer league, man. It gives the opportunity for these young players to come through, show their talents, and try to make a roster. I think Grady Dick played pretty well. I was trying to keep an eye on Marquise Noel from Kansas State as well. So it was good to see, man. I enjoyed watching it. I wish I could have watched a little bit more, but it was pretty good. Jay, and Imani Bates. That's what I was thinking of.
Imani Bates, he's been good this summer league.
Yeah.
Hey, Jay, I think you just said the wrong name.
Which name?
Cam Whitmore, the summer league.
He just
said the Lakers passed on him. They pretty
That's
much.
right, he did. That's why he was going
I didn't pass on him. Rob passed on him.
Yeah.
Like
Marcus
I
said, those guys hooped up.
I like that Marcus Sasser. He was balling. His last summer league game, he had 40 points in the last summer league game, so he put on the show. I saw my guy Amin Thompson pretty much for one ball game, but the ball game that I saw him. He looked fantastic. Can't wait to see him on the floor and on opening night. And sorry, Mo, I got to bring it up. Cam Whitmore, the summer league MVP. That if you look at his athleticism ability, that is crazy. That is actually crazy to be 6'7", 235 pounds. Now he does have a little inconsistency in shooting. I believe he'll work on that in the summer. But his defense, he had 8 steals against who was that? The 8 steals. It was the game before the championship game that we played. The last game, I believe it was against Utah. It was I believe he had the 8 steals in that ball game right there. So he's a lockdown player. He can play defense. He has great athleticism. And Jay Huff got a 2-way contract with the Denver Nuggets. Played well. Congratulations to Jay Huff as well. You mentioned Amari Bates and Isaiah Mobley, Evan Mobley, little brother.
Mm-hmm.
The Rockets, my Rockets had no idea how to stop that dude last night. That dude was a man to man's boys last night. But shout out to Cam Whitmore for winning the Summer League MVP. He definitely did deserve it. He definitely balled out on the offense and defensive side. So other than that, shout out to everybody and shout out to Jay, man. Tell the people where they can follow you at, man.
Jay Jones on all 4 social media platforms. 613 Faye on YouTube. The Man Cave Sports Group on Facebook. 613 on Apple and Spotify. Check me out. At me. I'm everywhere. I'm here on Mondays and Tuesdays with you guys.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey, you that guy.
Thank you, man, for coming on, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. It's been fun. I'll be in the comments.
Got you. So, man, we about to bring up for segment number 2. Y'all already know we got to guard that 3 ball, man. We got to guard that behind the 3, man. He's also a Milwaukee Bucks guy, man, too, as well. So I got to ask him about the Milwaukee Bucks as well, man. They wanted Mike Budenholzer out. They called it for his head. They got him up out of there. Every time it's a complaint about the Milwaukee Bucks. Somebody has to go. And what better guy to bring up is my boy Guardy 3, a.k.a. Brett. Brett, how you doing this morning, brother?
Good, Brett.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm feeling great.
What's good, man? Tell me something good about the Milwaukee Bucks, man, before we get into the last and final segment. Tell me something about them who impressed you on your team in Summer League.
I'm really liking our young guys, Jackson Jr. I like Beauchamp. I really liking what they're showing on defense. They're showing to have a lot of versatility. Right now, it seems like the Bucks are really interested in drafting a bunch of long, athletic dudes who can shoot. Because I think only 3 guys shot above 40%. Everybody else was 33 or under. And the 3 guys were like AJ Green, Lindell Wigington, and off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the third guy. But overall, like Jackson, he's showing a lot of defensive versatility, and if they can figure out how to make him like a league average shooter, I think he could become a really good 3-and-D role player. And same with Beauchamp. So overall, Bucks got a lot of projects in summer league and just in young players overall, but I'm seeing some potential in them, so I'm just hoping we can hone that jumper.
Yeah, gotcha. So we go to the next segment. Before we go to the next segment, Mo, are you familiar with Cam Whitmore? Are you actually familiar with that guy?
Too much.
I had to mess with my guy Mo before we get into it. So we got Bo, man. He got cut. He got released from the Orlando Magic. I thought he had a solid season, average 9 points for the Orlando Magic last year. Played pretty well. He signed with the Phoenix Suns, man. He signed with the Phoenix Suns. So Phoenix Suns give him an opportunity. They got some more bench depth on that team, something that they all needed. Mo, tell me about Bo, man. Is this a good signing for the Phoenix Suns?
When you look at how they're doing their roster construction this offseason, it's a great signing for them. Bo actually can play 4 out of the 5 positions, and defensively, he can guard all 5 positions. He's lanky, he's athletic, long arms, underrated, I think, offensively because he can actually put the ball on the deck. He's improved his jump shot. I don't understand why Orlando let him go, but look, one man's trash is another man's treasure. I guarantee you Bo will be one of the top 7 players for the Suns. He will be a mainstay in that rotation because of his versatility. It wouldn't shock me if he wasn't part of their closing lineup because I expect them to play small late in games. And that's saying small, even though he's 7 feet tall. He's not big, he's long. But when you've got him, KD, that's a unique kind of smallness. Small, let's say long, but not big. I think they're going to be a really versatile team. I'm actually impressed with the roster construction that Phoenix was able to put together with what they had to work with.
Got you. Brett.
So when it comes to Bol, I do enjoy the signing. I like how he fits on defense. He can, protect the rim for them, and he's really mobile for somebody his size, so he can switch out onto guards and spurts. On offense, you're looking at a guy who his counting numbers don't look all that impressive. You're talking about a guy who, for players who play 21 minutes or more, he was 35th in field goal percentage. He's a 26% shooter from 3. But if you break it down and you look at his shot chart, you'll realize he was really effective in the middle of the floor. He's going to be really effective as a roller, especially with all the space he's going to have. In Orlando, he finished last year at the rim at a 74% clip. And he was cold from everywhere else on the floor, but on above the break threes, you're looking at a guy who was a 39% shooter. So you use him as a pick and roller and popper in the middle of the floor, and you're looking at a really devastating offensive weapon. So overall, I like it, and as long as the Suns know how to use him and put him in those positions to succeed, I think he's going to have a really great year in Phoenix.
Got you. Jay?
Yeah, it's an interesting signing, and I agree with that. If they're able to use him the right way, and I think he could be a very good bench piece for this team to kind of add a little different dynamic to. One thing that when I saw about Bol, and I read a little bit deeper, the idea is you have the length of Bol that you'll have length against in Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio. You have Chet Holmgren in Oklahoma City, all very similar body types and length. So you have someone that you potentially could match up in that aspect. So if you look at the bigger picture of what Phoenix is doing with Bol, I think that's an idea to say, hey, we just add, as y'all are saying, the length of Bol with a KD and his length on the floor, maybe at some point at the same time with some of the other guys, you can have a very long defense team, to at least kind of space him out a little bit more and be able to guard that way. But if they utilize him the right way on the bench and be able to pair it the right times to get him on the floor and utilize his skill set, this could be a very good signing. The ceiling is high, but I think the floor is also really low if they don't utilize him the right way. That's going to be the key: is how do they get the best of Bol? Where what we saw in Orlando was, hey, he improved. He was a very, very big improvement for this past season. Do you continue that development with him and get the best out of him on a team that is supposed to be championship or bust mindset?
All right, so here we go. We got Paul Pierce coming out and said some interesting words yesterday. Paul Pierce said, if the Heat get Dame, pretty much, JJ, I'm gonna start with you. They will lose the first round of the playoffs. Like, he didn't say they were gonna go to the finals, Eastern Conference Finals, the second round. He didn't say they would get to the semifinals. He said they will lose the first round if they get Dame. Do you buy what Paul Pierce is saying, JG?
I think that's short-sighted. It's because we don't know if that trade does occur, who's part of the trade, who's leaving the Heat. And then they obviously, if they trade a handful of players to get Dame, they find a way to make it a 3 or 4 team, and you trade you only have to trade a handful. How do you replace those guys? So I think it's a little short-sighted to understand right now and say, yes, hey, if they make this trade, they're not a better team. Obviously, starting wise, with Dame and Jimmy Butler, they're a much better team because of what they can do shooting wise, and Dame's ability to shoot is going to be phenomenal. His ability to make plays is phenomenal. So starting wise, yes, they're going to be a much better team. How do they fill out the roster after the trade will be the next question before making any judgment. So I think it's a little short-sighted to say, well, yeah, Dame on this team, they're not better. Which, how do you get better if you were a finals contender? If you were, you made it to the finals a couple of years ago, you were right on the cusp of making it again this year. You were able to battle and do what you needed to do over the last few years. Like you've been one of the top Eastern Conference teams for quite a while. Dame could make you better. So I think it's short-sighted. Seeing how Paul Pierce has been in the media, he's very short-sighted on a lot of things he says. So I can't push judgment on what the Heat roster will be until after a trade does occur. Who do they replace after that trade happens, and how do they balance out their depth? So for all extents and purposes, I disagree. Because I think Dame will make this team better, but I can't make judgment until I know who the rest of the players are going to be on the roster, how their depth is going to be when it's all said and done.
Gotcha. Brett, is Paul Pierce, you disagree with Paul Pierce, or you agree with Paul Pierce they lose the first round if they get Dame?
So right now I disagree, and I think Jonathan hit it right on the head. It really depends on what this potential trade looks like and how they fill out the roster after that. Because you already lost Gabe Vincent, you already lost Strus. So if you have to trade away the rest of your roster, then who do you really have behind Dame, Jimmy, and Bam? So, but at the same time, maybe it's a 3-4 team trade. So it really depends on who comes out and goes out, but something that we've learned over the years is don't doubt Spo. He'll sign like 3 undrafted guys, and they'll all of a sudden be all-star caliber players out of nowhere. So I'm going to disagree with him, and a lot of that comes to do with the fact that I trust Spo. I think he's a phenomenal coach, and he'll figure it out no matter what roster you give him. Yep. But at the same time, I can absolutely see where he's coming from, depending on who all goes out in this potential trade.
Gotcha. Mo.
So I just flat out disagree with him. I don't think Paul Pierce knows what he's talking about. I think he talks just to talk. If you add Dame to a team that's still going to feature Jimmy Butler and Bam, Spo's going to still be the coach, but more importantly, the man behind the man, Pat Riley's going to be there. I'm going to trust in Pat Riley that they'll put functioning role players around those 3 players. I seriously doubt. And look, we talked about the bottom of the East and how it's set up. Even if they don't have the same guys, if you're adding a dynamic force like a Damian Lillard, it actually allows Jimmy Butler to be the best version of Jimmy Butler. So there's no way I can foresee them losing a first-round series Paul Pierce is drinking something. I just don't see it. I know we're concerned about roster construction, but common sense, the addition of a Dame Lillard to Bam and Jimmy with Spo, they're not losing in the first round.
Like Mo said, like me and Mo discussed, Mo said he knows better to go against the Miami Heat when it matters the most. He learned his lesson in the playoff stretch, in the playoff run. He learned his lesson. Hey, when you need a game from the Miami Heat, they know how to deliver. They probably don't do it in the finals. They probably don't do it in the finals. But when they get in that playoff stretch, you know what type of team you get in, and bringing Dame now makes them really, really scary. Especially, you definitely know Pat Riley is going to get the best out of players. You know Pat Riley is definitely not going to shorten the deal or nothing like that. He's going to do his best to get the best out of most, and he's going to do his best. If Damian Lillard comes there, he knows he's going to lose depth. He knows he's losing Tyler Hero, but he can also get some players back, get some depth pieces back along coming with Damian Lillard if they do somehow do a 4-team trade or a 3-team trade, whatever is going on. So, any thoughts on Dame Lillard? Any more thoughts on Paul Pierce comments?
No, just it's Paul Pierce. At some point, we just need to tune him out.
Got you. Kevin Durant comes out and say, offenses wins championships. Tomorrow, defenses win championships. But is he some degree, Mo? Is he some degree true that offenses does win championships?
Yeah, I don't think that's a far-fetched statement. Golden State can be good defensively, but where they're devastating when they were winning championships was their offense. They're going on these 18, 21-3 runs because their ability to stretch the floor. Their defense was sound, but their offense, they go on these runs that you just can't keep up. You can't sustain that, what they did offensively. Defense is important. Look, Phoenix is not going to win a title this year. They're title contenders, but if they don't play any form of defense with all that offensive firepower, they're going to be knocked out in the second round. So I understand what he's saying. I agree to a point, but if you have no defenders, if you can't get any stops at all, I don't think you can win a title on offense alone.
Go ahead, Brett.
Well, history has shown us you can't win an offense or a title on offense alone, because if that was the case, it'd be Wilt Chamberlain with 11 rings. Mike D'Antoni would have multiple rings with his 7 seconds or less offense. And even when you look back at the last 13 title winners, 11 out of the 13 had a top 10 offense and defense. Like, at the end of the day, yes, offense is important. You're not going to win a title without an offense, but you're just not going to win a title in general without balance. Like, you look at even those Warriors teams, like you mentioned, every year you look at them, especially during the KD run, they were top 10, and most years they were top 5 in offense and defense. So, like, I do get what he's saying. Like, yes, you need offense, but I think it's more important to have a balance, because you slant in one way or one direction or the other, and you're not going to win regardless. So, yeah, it's all about balance, really.
Got you. Go ahead, Jay.
As great as that Golden State Warrior team that with KD and Steph and Clay, as great as they were offensively, we forget just how great Draymond Green is on defense at times. How great Andre Iguodala was great on defense for that team as well. Like that, they had defensive stoppers and were able to, as say, be able to make plays when it mattered defensively to allow their offense to have the transition. Again, you have to feed off, like it's being said, you have to feed off defensively with your offense. What made that team so deadly and so dangerous is the transition three-pointers that Steph and KD and Clay make, because they were able to get the defensive stops by Draymond, by Iguodala, those guys that were able to get steals and rebounds, kick it out to Steph, take a couple steps, get to the three-point line, and shoot a three from immediately. They were able to go because of their defense. And I'll use this as an example. And again, I'm not a Celtics fan, but when you had Ime Udoka, who was the head coach of the Celtics, Udoka is known as a really good defensive coach. They made it to the NBA Finals under Udoka. Take the same roster, have Joe Mazzulla, who was trying to be more offensive. They didn't make it to the NBA Finals. The team was not the same. And you had guys on that team say, hey, we need to play a little bit more defense. We need to focus a little bit. The coaches need to focus more on defense. We need to do something a little bit more on that side. They wanted to be more defensive oriented to get to what that's their identity. And they were going to make it to the NBA Finals if they did so. They didn't. They were not the same team talent-wise because of it, and they didn't make it to the NBA Finals. So, do you have to score points to win? Absolutely, you do. Is offense important in doing so? Absolutely. But if you don't have defense, you can't play defense because a lot of these teams, as we saw about Golden State, they fed off offensively because of what their defense did for them. And if the defense does not do their job, you can score 135 points. You're not going to win if you give them 138.
Got you. That's definitely the right thing right there. That's definitely. So who you guys got? Jonathan, who you're picking? Ionescu or Stephen Curry? If y'all don't know, Ionescu sets an NBA record and a WNBA record. Both records are set. 37 out of 40 made three-pointers in the three-point shootout. Allie Quickly has won it the past 3 years. And now we have a new champion. Ionescu made 37 out of 43 pointers. JG, who you picking in the three-point shootout?
I mean, it's impressive. I mean, I'm not going to take anything away from what Sabrina did. That was very impressive. I don't care, male or female. You put that up. I mean, that's. I mean, I tip my hat to it. Amazing job. But I'm going with Steph Curry. Because Steph is the game's best three-point shooter. The game, male or female, he's been the best three-point shooter throughout his entire career. So, not taking anything away from what Sabrina did, not taking anything away how impressive. Let me see her do it more. Let me see a little bit more of her doing that three-point competition. If she does it, if she goes next year and puts up 37, 38, okay. Now I'm going to reconsider. But Steph Curry is the game, male or female, best three-point shooter, and I'm going with that direction.
Brett?
No, that's 100% accurate right there. Like Sabrina, what she did was absolutely incredible. She's a phenomenal shooter. She's just a certified bucket getter in general.
Yep.
But if I had to put money on it, I wouldn't bet against Steph. You're talking about the greatest shooter just in the history of basketball, and I don't really think it's all that close either. So what she did was incredible, and I hope she's able to keep it up. But if I had to put money on this, give me Steph Curry.
Mo?
Sabrina Ionescu's a beast. Let me start there. I'll take Steph, but let me say this. Do something special for the All-Star Weekend this coming season. Allow her to compete in the three-point competition against Steph. I want to see that. I want to see them go head-to-head because I think I would like that matchup. I think if she is entered in there and allowed to compete, she's going to beat out a few people.
Well, don't they do that for the college three-point contest? They have the girls and they have the winner of each of the women's competition and the men's competition. They go head to head. By all means, I agree 100. I don't watch the All-Star festivities all that much anymore. I'll watch that. I'd watch Steph versus Sabrina head to head on the same court 100%.
Yep. Everybody clean sweep Steph. I was going to show some love to Sabrina Ionescu because nobody ever did that over there. Nobody ever did that. 37 out of 40. That is like crazy. And Sandy Wickham wasn't even bad. She made 26. The only problem was Ionescu made 37. The girl, she was hot. I mean, man, that girl needed some water that time. So we got the last. Go ahead. Someone was.
I just said she was cooking. That's all.
Yeah. She couldn't miss. So second to last topic of the day, Mo. We gonna start with you. Is Jaylen Brown worth $345 million? Is he worth that? Is he worth that for Boston?
So I think they want to run it back, and I think that two-way wings that can lock down on one end and give you 25 or more points a game. They don't just fall on trees. Look, unless you're going to trade him directly for somebody like Mikal Bridges, who has a similar skill set, which probably isn't going to happen. Boston's going to pay him. They're going to run it back, and if they come up short, let's say they're lesser than what they were 2 years ago, and they don't make it back to the finals. Yeah, you can still trade him, but I think in the end, he's probably going to get the money. They're going to pay him, and the scary part is the very next year they got to pay Tatum even more than that. So the question is, I'm really going to be interested to see what kind of roster construction they have over the next 3 seasons with that much money invested into 2 wings, two gifted, talented wings, but still, that's just 2 players. So while I wouldn't do it as a general manager, I think that's exactly what the Celtics are going to do.
Brett?
Okay, so is he worth the money? Well, I think the market's going to say yeah. So to an extent, I guess the answer is yes. Do I think Jaylen Brown right now, the basketball player, is worth the max, like a super max? I don't think so. I genuinely think he's got to work on his handle. He's got to tighten it up. He's got to cut down on the turnovers. He's just got to become a better playmaker in general. Because overall, if you look at his career, like assist to turnover ratio, pretty much for every assist he has, he turns the ball over. So I want to see better ball security, just better protection, be able to just, I don't expect him to become like Jokic or like anything crazy like Magic Johnson or some stuff with passing, but I at least want to see him to be able to hit the right reads, like just be able to, skip a quick pass to the corner if needed to, if he's doubled. So overall, I think he's got some things to work on. I think he's a player, though, that could very easily become worth the Supermax. Like, I think it's something he could easily grow into. But as of right now, I think the answer as a player, no.
JG?
Yeah, I agree. Jaylen Brown's he's a great player. He's a really good player.
Yep.
But it's Jason Tatum's team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, that's how you look at an aspect of is: are you going to pay who are you paying that money for? Who are you going to pay that money to? You're going to pay it to Tatum. You're going to pay it to Brown. You're going to do it to Tatum. So why would you get in that aspect of you're not going to be able to afford to pay both guys that amount of money? And so and Jaylen's done. He's a good role piece for Tatum, but it's Tatum's team. And I don't see how you can make that work. I don't think how you can even justify even offering that to Jaylen Brown because of the fact that he's not the number one guy on this team. So if you're paying that money, you're going to the number one guy. Jaylen's not that. So you find a way to make it work. Find a way to make it work to where because you have something great. If they're able to continue going in the direction they're going with both of them and find a way to make it work that makes sense for you as a team and it makes sense for him, Jaylen Brown, to want to sign. But offering that much money, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense because at the end of the day, he is the Robin to Jason Tatum's Batman.
Got you. But like it's a question I want to ask you guys. But so now Boston's want to pay Jaylen Brown, which it seemed like they may end up doing it. What about Jason Tatum? Because I believe do y'all figure if they pay Jaylen Brown? Where's Jason Tatum? Do they let Jason Tatum? Do they pay Jason Tatum? Do they pay them at the same time? Do they pay Jason Tatum as well? If y'all had to make a prediction, if they does pay Jaylen Brown, if they do invest in Jaylen Brown, do they invest in Jason Tatum?
Absolutely. I think at one point they're both going to be paid, but they're going to have to move one of those contracts, and it won't be Jason Tatum. So to me, if you overpay Jaylen Brown this year, but the results are you end up back in the finals and you win it all, which is the optimum result. You come back the very next season or the off season, and you've got to pay Jason Tatum actually more than what you're offering Jaylen Brown. I just don't think they can afford to keep them both going forward. I don't think that's sustainable. I think this, whatever they do with Jaylen Brown, money-wise, contract-wise, I think it's all short-term and really all about this season. As Jonathan said, at the end of the day, he's the Robin to Jason Tatum's Batman. You
Yeah.
pay Batman that type of money, not Robin. So if it does happen, it'll be short term.
I'll go in this direction. Jason Tatum signed a 5-year, $163 million contract. So you're going to almost double, pay double to Jaylen Brown than what you're paying Jason, who is the best player, who's the better player on the team. You do that, I think you almost cost yourself Jason Tatum. I think almost at that point, look at it and say he's going to be a free agent. So he signed through this year, 2025. Yeah, 2026 is his last year contract. 2026, he's a free agent. You're almost going to say he's not coming back at that point. He's going to say, well, look, you valued somebody else. I'm the best player. You value somebody else over me who's not on my level, and you're going to pay him double? I don't see how that's going to work in a good way for the Boston Celtics. And it could cost them Jason Tatum more so than Jaylen Brown.
Right, and then when it comes to between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, the way I view Jaylen Brown is you're looking at a guy who's he's a fringe All-NBA to All-NBA third-team level player. Like, he's an All-NBA third-team level player. If somebody doesn't meet the minimum games requirement or injuries knock somebody out, then he can sneak in. When I look at Jason Tatum, I'm looking at a guy who's just All-NBA first-team caliber. He can be a top-5 player in the league. So to me, it's like, all right, do I want to really focus and lock in on keeping the top 5 player in the league or the top 20? So to me, it's a really simple choice. It's Tatum. You got to keep Tatum. And if you have to move on from Brown for the sake of roster construction and not paying two guys $600, $700 million, if you have to choose between one, to me, the answer is it obviously has to be Tatum.
You know what? I get that if you pit them against each other, but if you think of the way their mentals are, the way they approach the game, I actually think Jason Tatum wants Jaylen Brown to get the money. I think Jason Tatum wants Jaylen Brown to be there. I think he feel like he needs Jaylen Brown. So I don't know how they manage it, but I don't think Jason Tatum would have a problem with Jaylen Brown getting the money because I think he wants him there.
Let me at least clarify. I don't think he'll be mad at Brown for getting his money. But I think there's going to be a look at the Boston Celtics and say, okay, so when do I get mine? Well, you can't pay both. You can't pay both $300 million in the NBA salary cap. So the question is going to be is, for Tatum to the Celtics, when do I get mine? Well, we just paid Jaylen $300, so we really not going to be able. Oh, okay. So that's where I look at. I agree with you. I don't think Jason's going to look at Jaylen and be like, well, you don't deserve that. But he's going to look at the Boston Celtics and say, all right, now how do you value me? And are you able to even pay me after that? And more likely, the answer is going to be no.
Gotcha. Good. So we on the last segment, and y'all know what time it is. Y'all know that segment. It is Mo's boxing segment. So yes, Mo got his own segment that is at the end of the show. So Mo, go ahead. Tell us about the great Roy Jones Jr., his ups and his downfalls. Go ahead, Mo.
The great Roy Jones. If you're a boxing fan, if you've ever seen Roy Jones, you know about the speed, the lightning quick reflexes, the shoulder roll, the showmanship, the freakish athleticism. Roy Jones starts out his boxing pro career, wins his first 33 fights in a row, capturing the WBC middleweight championship, the IBF super middleweight championship, and finally the light heavyweight championship. He's 33-0. He faces Montel Griffin. He is dominating Montel Griffin. Montel Griffin goes to the ground. Roy Jones hits him while he's on the ground, gets disqualified. Montel Griffin becomes the light heavyweight championship. After that defeat, Roy Jones wins the next 13 fights, including wins over Virgil Hill, who's a very skilled fighter, Antonio Tarver, and he wins the rematch against Montel Griffin, knocking him out in the 6th round. Roy Jones Jr. held 4 titles in 4 different weight classes: super middleweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and he's the first boxer in the history of boxing to win the middleweight championship and capture the heavyweight championship in 106 years. Roy Jones Jr. at his peak is known for his lightning quick hands, his unorthodox fighting style, as well as his unique reflexes. Later in his career, he would rematch Antonio Tarver. Their first rematch, Antonio Tarver knocks him out in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
Their third fight, Antonio Tarver dominates Roy Jones, beats him up, and this is Roy Jones on the other side of his prime.
Yeah.
He goes on to fight Joe Kazagi. Kazagi beats him up worse than Tarver. Glenn Johnson knocked him out in the fifth round. As gifted and as great as Roy Jones Jr. was, he's fall to I would say the thing that boxers fall to. They don't know when to walk away.
Yep.
Roy Jones Jr. right now today is an active boxer. He holds the record for the longest career. He is currently at 33 years and counting as a fighter. Gifted, special, exceptional, but like most fighters, doesn't know when to quit. Roy Jones Jr., one of the greats. He held that lineal title, light heavyweight, for 12 defenses, but he also holds another title, pound for pound. He held it multiple years. Roy Jones is ranked as one of the 30 greatest fighters pound for pound in the history of boxing. Roy Jones Jr. still actively fighting.
Gotcha. That was a hell of a breakdown on Roy Jones Jr. Now, the mistake that he did make, he shouldn't have went back down to fight Tarver. That first fight he went down and fought Tarver. I think he should have stayed at heavyweight. I believe that was the time.
That was it.
Fought Louise. He should have stayed at heavyweight at that time. He would have been awesome at that heavyweight position. And the great George Foreman said he should have stayed at heavyweight. He even alluded to that and said he should have stayed at heavyweight. Him coming down the fight Tarver kind of helped Tarver out. He ended up had to kill himself in camp to make the weight. Then he came back, fight Tarver. Tarver hit him with a shot that Roy Jones wasn't expecting.
Overhand left.
Yeah, it was kind of a scary shot that Tarver kind of threw it and ended up hitting him. And after that, that was all it done by Roy Jones Jr. That was all it done right there. Like you said, he ended up getting
that was set up by their first matchup. It went to a decision, but Tarver saw something in the first matchup. He saw that Roy Jones wasn't quite as quick, and like you said, he struggled with the weight. And that affected him in their second and third fights.
Yep, got knocked out by Glenn Johnson brutally. Joe Calzaghe beat him up. Joe Calzaghe, that's a hell of a dude. That dude beat everybody up.
That dude beat a lot of people up.
He beat a lot of people down. But that was a great Mo's boxing segment right there. Shout out to Mo for the boxing segment. Guarantee you Mo will have another one tomorrow. You catch Mo's boxing segment after at the end of the stream. Every day, Mo's got his own boxing segment. Good breakdown on Roy Jones, the great Roy Jones Jr. So shout out to everybody that came through the morning show, man. Jonathan, JG. I thought when I think of JG, you know what I think? I think of Jonathan Gannon, someone that the Eagles didn't like. I think they used to call him that. But go ahead and tell the people they can follow you at, man.
Hey, on the show with you guys on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. You can also check me out on social media. I'm running my baseball softball program at Alpha Performance, Baseball Alpha Performance Softball. We're on Facebook. We're also on Twitter at _and_alpha. Again, check out all the great things we have going with all the kids that we coach and all the wonderful families and athletes that we have. We're doing a great thing in the community and great thing with these kids, just teaching them the game and getting them set up for a great future.
Yep.
Good stuff, Jonathan. You the man.
I appreciate it.
Said Roy should have stayed. He said he should have quit after the Tarver fight. Yeah, he got messed up after he didn't stay at heavyweight. He should have actually stayed at heavyweight and box. That's the time he shouldn't have went back down. He got drained by went back down and he ended up killing himself in the second fight. It was close. The first fight it was close. That what made him vulnerable. And Tarver hit him with a scary shot that knocked him down pretty much and took away his legs. Brett, tell the people that where to follow you at.
Oh, you can follow me at Brett Gardepy on Twitter. You can follow my podcast page at Gardy3. Otherwise, you can catch me on the morning show on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. And I'll also be doing articles for Sports Empire Network soon. So stay tuned.
All right.
Good stuff, Brett.
All right, Mo, tell the people they can follow you at.
Right here on the Empire, Sports Empire Network. Catch me on Coffee, Sports in the Morning, all through the week with Coach. Ready to kill it.
Got y'all, man. Y'all already know, man. Be on morning show every day. Y'all already know where to find me. No introduction. Shout out to everybody. JG, my boy Brett, my right hand man Mo. Great boxing segment. He'll have another boxer for you guys tomorrow. Is always a good boxer, man. That he always bring up, man. Guarantee is gonna be on another underrated coming up. But as for Coach Dante, my guy Mo, my guy Brett, my guy Jonathan. We'll see you guys in another morning show. That will be tomorrow morning. Thank you guys. Y'all have a good rest of your day.